Coming in at the exact same $599 price as Google's bargain base model, just how does the Nothing Phone 2 stack up against the Pixel 7? Well, here's everything you need to know. So let's get right into the obvious tale of the tape with these two smartphones. Nothing has really hit the ground running with back-to-back successful product launches. The Ear 2 are great, and now the Phone 2 is similarly impressive in a tough and hard to crack market. There's definitely a fairly big gulf in size here, as the Nothing Phone 2 measures in at 6.7 inches and weighs 201 grams, closer to the Pixel 7 Pro actually, while the Pixel 7 is about 6.3 inches and 197 grams. Choosing between this duo definitely becomes a bit easier if you decide between a large and smaller device in that case. Adding a case for protection will also increase the on-screen footprints for both of these handsets too. Definitely something to bear in mind when choosing between them. So design is always subjective, and that is certainly true here. While the Pixel 7 is, at least compared to the Nothing Phone 2, classy and understated, with only one standout colour to choose from, and now we think that's the lemongrass option. Meanwhile, the Phone 2 picked right up where the Phone 1 left off. It has a transparent backplate which exposes a few of the intricacies, with caps and covers hiding some of the real internals of this phone. The Glyph LED lighting strip also includes more separation and distinction. The design is fairly impressive, but it's definitely a far cry from the Pixel 7, at least when we start to look at those design elements. The tail of the tape as well doesn't really do the Pixel 7 many favours here. Nothing hasn't exactly stuffed in the most up-to-date specifications either. The Tensor G2 is definitely far below the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 when it comes to raw power and performance, and you can feel that extra speed in conjunction with that 120Hz display, but Google's optimization does help ensure that things are still smooth despite not being the most powerful device you can buy within this price category. Of course, Tensor processors are notorious for poor heat management, whereas the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 runs fast and cool. It's definitely a great mobile gaming device for that reason, with everything running smoothly. Sure, the Pixel 7 isn't a top tier phone, but it can game itself too. It just gets a little toasty in the process. One notable that we think you need to be aware of is that while the base RAM for both devices is set at 8GB, there is actually a 12GB of RAM variant of the Phone 2 that you can pick up, and this could be beneficial in the long term, but at no point will we say that 8GB of RAM on the Pixel 7 has been a problem, at least at this stage. Android should run fine for a long time to come on both of these devices, but if you want that little bit of extra lifespan, 12GB of RAM might be something to take a look at. Of course, the quality of a smartphone display doesn't really just boil down to the refresh rate, and that certainly can be said of the Nothing Phone 2. While it is true that the 120Hz AMOLED screen is more fluid, the Pixel 7 screen looks more vibrant to our eyes, and although 30Hz slower with a 90Hz peak refresh rate, the difference actually isn't as drastic as you might have expected when these are in full flow side by side. Whether Google is using higher quality OLED panels on their phones, or if it's just optimized better with Android 13 and now Android 14, the beta version, is unclear. That said, the Nothing Phone 2 is has a solid 120Hz OLED panel with uniform bezels on all sides, something which can't be said of the Pixel 7, and it definitely is an attractive look from far away. 120Hz just enhances this phone no end. When you're interacting with the OS, things are marginally smoother on the Nothing Phone 2. Nothing OS 2.0 is still based upon Android 13, while you can already try out Android 14 beta builds on the Pixel device. Little touches do help differentiate these two software builds, but Nothing OS is clean and has lots of little quality of life additions like the volume control sidebar and the brightness control dial, and lots of little extras on top of that help take advantage of the Glyph lighting bar at the rear, which does sometimes still feel a little bit gimmicky. We all know that Google has doubled down on material use since it was introduced back with Android 12 and the Pixel 6 series. While Android 13 isn't a huge departure from that, Android 14 is going to add more customization options and tweaks to that formula, with the ability to adjust the lock screen clock, quick access controls, plus add more sheen to what is an already polished system. Support windows for both of these smartphones are pretty similar in that you'll get 3 full Android updates with the Nothing Phone 2 and Pixel 7. Google though is offering 5 years of regular monthly patches on their handset, while Nothing is actually only offering 4 years of bi-monthly or every 2 month updates on their device. So that might be something to consider if you care about smartphone patches. In the lifespan stakes, it's also worth noting that Google has been listening to battery criticisms and increased capacities on their devices year over year. To compare the 3,500 mAh max cell on the Pixel 7 to the Phone 2's 4,700 mAh cell though, is a little unfair, we must admit. The Qualcomm chip is a little better at power management, even when doing processor-intensive tasks here too, coupled with that larger internal capacity, and it lasts much longer than the Pixel 7. In either case, you should get a full day with both of these phones, but you'll hit the charger definitely more often with Google's late 2022 flagship base model. Charging is also a key component that definitely favours the phone too. It offers 45-watt wired charging alongside 15-watt Qi wireless and 5-watt reverse wireless for your accessories. The Pixel series does cap out at 30 watts, which in the real world is closer to around that 21-watt stage, with the same speed with the Pixel stand available for wireless charging if you do buy that accessory. For camera aficionados out there, we would say look no further than the Pixel 7. Stills are far superior on this device than they are on the Phone 2, which does actually improve upon its own predecessor. However, the secondary ultra-wide on the Phone 2 is actually a substantial downgrade. That is despite having more megapixels available, 12 versus 50, when comparing to the Pixel 7. While we would say that the Pixel edges the Phone 2 in terms of camera availability, the main sensor on the newer device is competent with sharp, colour-accurate images in the right lighting conditions. Low-light photography isn't quite as solid, but has already improved with post-release updates, as it was pretty substantially bad when available at launch. That said, the Pixel 7 gives you better images in all scenarios and handles those without really breaking a sweat. To summarise, while the Pixel series relies heavily on finesse and refinement to achieve an excellent day-to-day experience, the Phone 2 has a little bit of hardware grunt alongside some impressive and slightly tuned software of its own, but it has that superior battery and faster charging options, which are attractive to someone who may have used the Pixel 7 for a long time. The camera definitely lets things down on and off things second-gen smartphone. Like we said, it's fine, but it has poor low-light performance compared to a lot of other devices, and hopefully that can be rectified as it's starting to look like it will with future software updates. And that's something that improved that previous gen quite substantially too, especially post-launch. If I could combine the best of the Pixel 7 with the best of the Nothing Phone 2, then I think there would be no device under $650 that could accurately compete or probably compete with these two. However, that's not possible, and it becomes a tougher task to separate these two smartphones. I would say for the best camera and longest support window, then the Pixel 7 is an excellent choice, especially now it's available at discounts. Alternatively, the Nothing Phone 2 comes in hot with great performance and neat design, and a package that does usurp the Pixel in a few key areas. Neither phone is perfect, but both are great buys depending on just what you decipher that you need day to day. So that's the Pixel 7 and the Nothing Phone 2, two pretty good smartphones under that $600 mark. I would say go with your gut and pick the one that you think is going to suit you best. I want to ask you though, what do you think is the best smartphone under that price point? As always though, this is Damien with Android Authority. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.